Hi everybody, my name's Scott Saslow and I'm a freelance graphic designer based actually pretty much all over, and I'd like to talk about 5 titles I've worked on and then one that I'm just a fan of. So we're going to be jumping around in terms of the timeline, but we're going to start with David Cronenberg's Crash. With art by, apologies if I'm not pronouncing it correctly, Gilles Vranckx. This one is special for a couple reasons. The film, it's one of those films that just sort of, it casts a spell, it sort of lulls you in. I kind of put Eyes Wide Shut actually in the same category, and I always thought they'd make an interesting double feature. It's about characters who sort of get off on car crashes. Symphorophiliacs, I think, is the scientific term for it. But the reason this one is special is because I went back to school at 30 for graphic design, graduated a few years later, and for our final senior exhibition, I came up with my own Blu-rays. I came up with my own company. I called it Heliotrope Films, which is a street in Los Angeles, and I did Crash. I came up with a list of extras, designed artwork, found an essay for the booklet, and some of the ideas that I incorporated in the student project, I was able to put into the real thing just a few years later. The disc art with Deborah Kara Unger, that was my student project, opening the booklet with quotes from J.G. Ballard and then James Ballard, Spader's character. That came from the student project. To go from student project, hoping I get to do this one day, to actually doing it for real just a few short years later. Pretty cool. After that, we have one I worked on more recently, John Carpenter's In the Mouth of Madness.
John Carpenter's In the Mouth of Madness.
I'm not the biggest horror fan, I admit. I watched most of Carpenter's films for the first time actually during COVID lockdown. Francesco Francavilla did the artwork on this. When I caught up with all of his films, at the time my favorite was The Fog. I still enjoy it, I still love it, but the one I find myself keep going back to is In the Mouth of Madness. John Carpenter is a film school grad. I believe he went to USC, and in film school there's only so much they can teach you. One thing they really can't teach is tone and atmosphere, and this movie has plenty. It also has a great supporting cast. Sam Neill is the lead, but we've got Bernie Casey, we've got John Glover, Peter Jason, who was in several John Carpenter films, David Warner, and Vigo the Carpathian himself is in this movie, Wilhelm von Homburg, and even though he's just playing a regular guy, he still looks so creepy.
He sees you.
Also cool, this was the first title I worked on with visual effects by Industrial Light and Magic. I've been an ILM fanboy my whole life. I sent them a fan letter, I think when I was 12 years old. My mom helped me get the address because it was just before the internet. They sent me a reply, but I have no idea what happened to that. And I kept everything from my childhood. John Carpenter, his name is in serif Gothic, also known as the Halloween font. Carpenter's actually one of the few directors who's associated with different fonts. That's one of them, and the other one is Albertus, which you can see in the opening titles of several of his films. Fun movie, just so wonderfully creepy. I come back to this one all the time. Let's see, also more recently, I worked on Excalibur. Now that artwork is by the late great Bob Peak, who did many movie posters, including my 2 favorite, Richard Donner's Superman and Star Trek The Motion Picture. The original poster, the art is presented within a frame, so I wanted to carry that over to the release, also so the logos and titles wouldn't encumber it. This one was a lot of fun to work on, and for the booklet, I wanted to go a little more stylish than usual, so each essay in the booklet has a large drop cap. You know them when you see them, but those actually date back to, I think, like the 400s, the earliest books. They did not have paragraph spacing, they didn't have line spacing, so the artist would use these large, basically initials to denote new sections of the text, otherwise there'd be no way to tell. So I was able to incorporate that into the booklet and some other stylistic touches. When you do a booklet, you know, it's important you have to have a grid with your margins and everything, but then once you have a grid, basically, once you know the rules, then you know how to break them. Sometimes depending on the room, if I could kind of take a photo and move it outside the text or cut it off somehow, or just something for some extra visual interest, that's what I try to do, and this one turned out beautifully, I must say, and I was happy to work on it. Let's see, the Chucky collection, that was a marathon to work on. We have, where is it? I just saw it. The Cell, that was pretty cool to work on. I was with a friend when I got the email, and she's like, "You get to work on a Jennifer Lopez movie?" It's like, I'm not working on the movie, just the boutique video release of it. She's like, we should watch it. And it's like, this movie's not for you. Cruising, I was skeptical when I was told that they wanted to go for a faux leather finish on the O card. But you know what? When I saw it, I was genuinely impressed. I wasn't sure if they'd be able to pull it off or not. And ironically, I do a lot of work for another label, Fun City Editions, and my producer there, Jonathan, contributed to this release too. We did the Karen Allen interview, so sort of an all-hands-on-deck release. Nothing like waking up and seeing in my email the subject line, Cowabunga. So this was a blast to work on. Somehow I managed to work on this, Wild Style, and the Wild Geese for Severin with its 300-page book all simultaneously. But it was cool to come up with a lot of the swag that came with it, the cards and the booklet cover with the fake pizza menu. And we actually came up with an April O'Neil ID badge, but it was dropped, but I still have the file on my computer. This was a fun one to work on. Enter the Video Store. I will say from this collection, Robot Jocks used to air on HBO all the time, so it's sort of a childhood favorite. And then Arena, I'd heard of, but I had never seen, but it was cool being a fan of both Star Trek and Babylon 5 to see some of those actors all in the same movie together. So fun stuff, and hopefully get to start on Volume 2 pretty soon. So one cool release I got to work on was Mallrats.
You said it was a good size.
When a girl says it's a good size, it's a nice way of saying that it's small.
What else did you expect from the director of Clerks?
Hey!
We did the Blu-ray, and then a few years later, I was told that we got to do we'd be doing a 4K. Robert Samelin did the artwork. And one of my ideas at the time was, hey, wouldn't it be cool to do a mall map? And then, sure enough, I got the assignment, and it was, Scott, we're doing the mall map now. And it's like, oh, now I have to do it. So had to watch the movie a few times. I took the existing Eden Prairie mall map in Minnesota where they filmed it and just sort of extrapolated from there. Obviously for the film, they only built what you would see on screen, so I got to fill in the rest, but I had to make sure that it was stores that existed in the mid-90s and would exist in New Jersey. I had fun with that. Some of the department store names, I think I've got Garmin and Bernardin, which are after two of his podcast friends, and a Schwalbach's, which is his wife's maiden name. I named a deli in the food court after my parents and named a couple other stores after friends. I'm also fond of Well the Walrus, which is both a reference to Tusk and a play on Build-A-Bear. And so yeah, it's a mix of real stores, fake stores, the fake stores you see in the movie, like Fashionable Mail, and it was a lot. And then on the back of the map, we came up with ads for the fake businesses that you see in his movies, and real ones too, the video store, the convenience store, the funeral home that's mentioned in Clerks. Even, I think Kevin Smith has said that when he was a kid, his dad was a fan of a TV show called Bowling for Dollars, so we have an ad for that on there. I do wish I had varied up the sizes a little bit now in retrospect, but yeah, it turned out very well, and if there's another format after 4K, hopefully get to revisit it a third time. And the original art on the reverse is by the legendary Drew Struzan, so check that out too. Now, the first Arrow project I worked on was the old film noir sets. So again, I went back to school at 30 for graphic design, and I quit my first postgraduate job. I started doing one alternative movie poster a day as an exercise. That got me an internship, and after the internship, which ended in 2017, I've been freelancing, and then finally my email just landed in the inbox of the right person, and they said, we want to see something in the style of Saul Bass. Now, Saul Bass is a legendary graphic designer. He did corporate logos, he did movie posters, he revolutionized the title sequence. The one that probably really put him on the map was the title sequence he did for Otto Preminger's The Man with the Golden Arm. So to have my first job for Arrow be, yeah, just give us 4 sleeves in a box in the style of this genius, it's like, okay, sure. And I'm sure I could do a little better, with Volume 1. I got to come back 5 years later and do Volumes 2 and 3. A lot of fun. And yeah, it's just, it's just trying to make something that looks nice, but also something that tells a story, something that has some subtext, an image you look at it and it's like, wait a second. And then Volume 1, I was only on artwork, but for 2 and 3, I got to do the layouts and booklet and everything else as well. I basically do a bunch of comps for each film, and anything that goes unused turns into the box art, basically. And these are, Volume 1 and Volume 3. Volume 2, MIA at the moment. Will there be a Volume 4? Not sure, but if there is, you know, I'm around. Those are 5 that I worked on. I'm not even sure how many I've worked on now. They're all on my website. But one I wanted to talk about I didn't work on was the Marx Brothers. They're heroes of mine. My parents got me into them when I was a kid. Their movies used to show up on TV all the time. That's just original artwork. Yeah, I mean, I joke that anytime someone looks at me and asks, why? I just tell them, it's all here. These are from their earlier, crazier Paramount years before they went to MGM. The Coconuts has the famous Viaduct Wyaduck scene, and Animal Crackers introduces the song Hooray for Captain Spaulding, which would later become Groucho's theme song.
Hooray for Captain Spaulding, the African explorer. Did someone call me Schnorrer? Hooray, hooray, hooray.
A lot of funny stuff. Duck Soup, especially now, you know, as far as satires go, still works. My favorite of the bunch, I mean, I love them all. My favorite of the bunch is probably Animal Crackers. And yeah, I mean, I think the first one, The Coconuts, in a few years, it'll be 100 years old. It's one of the first sound films. You know, if you want to ever watch classic comedy, check them out. So this was my time here in the Arrow Video Store. It's been a blast. You know, I mainly do layouts and booklet design, but I do have to give a shout out to artists like Tony Stella, Colin Murdoch, and Tom Ralston, Drusilla Adeline, and just so many others. Everyone makes everyone look good, and we're all just trying to get the best package possible. And they keep making them. I hope I get to keep designing them. So take care.